Welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Tuesday. A lot of basketball to get through today. Some interesting NFL storylines to go through. We'll talk about the MVP race a little bit with Steven's Lamar Jackson. I'm sure you'll see where that's going. But before we get into that, first of all, tough night for me as an Eagles fan. That was really, really tough to see. But as far as me being a team player, gotta give a hand to the guys over here because a great night for the team. The Tron graphic goes 3-0. We get the Kenneth squared moment. Looks good there. NBA still kicking. And we have some college player props today, Jake. And Jake's been on fire with those too. So just saying. This makes up for my Eagles loss last night, I think is really what I'm looking at here. All right. Let's move into, we have a ton of NBA to get to. Drop the questions in the chat. Derek's in the chat too to answer questions. We will definitely be looking at them. Before we do that, interesting situation here with the Ravens-Niners game coming up. We want to look at some of the MVP situations where you can find value. So, Steven, do you want to explain a little bit what we're looking at here?
Yeah, so like we did with the Heisman, I've tried to reverse engineer the logic of the odds makers and see if we can use value based on the sim percentages that we generate. So, for example, Brock Purdy here, he's the heavy favorite to win the MVP, but I think that he basically needs to win out. And they're heavy favorite in all the remaining games. But if you use our sim percentages to calculate the chance of him winning out and stay healthy, because you see Christian McCaffrey's on his team and he's the fifth in the odds or tied for fourth, depending on where you are. So, if San Francisco wins without Purdy, and then that would hurt his chances of the MVP. So I think that with the math of 67% chance versus Baltimore, almost 90% at Washington, and 76% versus the Rams, that the chance of winning out and him staying healthy and the other guys all collapsing is only around 41%. So I think that if the odds makers were basing it on the numbers that they believe in, they would put them there. But they're not gonna offer the public plus 145 when they don't have to, when they can charge them minus 200.
I mean, it's like the Bo Nix situation where it's like they knew they could get people to bet on him at, minus 115 and not at plus money. Same with Florida State going to the playoffs. They knew they could get sucker people into a minus 150 bet. So as far as value here, we're not really supporting betting on him at minus 200.
Yeah, he only can go down in my book, because he has every narrative. The narratives of the stats are clearly in his favor across the board. So it's going to be sort of like Caleb Williams at the start of the Heisman race where he was a heavy favorite. He could only come down. There's nothing that's going to make Purdy look better than he already has.
I mean, I would say the Bo Nix comparison is really spot on because he had a really good running back, Christian McCaffrey, like Bucky Irving, really good wide receivers, and he throws a lot of checkdowns and there's a lot of yards after catch. But the one thing going for him is if you watched the play that he got hurt, Sam Darnold came in for one play and Sam Darnold looked terrible. So I think that helped him a little bit, but not too much.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move over to someone we do have a little more value on as far as our numbers compared to the odds makers. Looking at Lamar Jackson, you can find him at plus 500. It's probably your best bet, but we make it closer to plus 373. So definitely finding value there. But what he needs to do is essentially win out, beat San Francisco and Miami to clinch the 1 seed.
Yeah, so the thing about Lamar is people have been down on him because his stats don't compare to his MVP season. But everyone, and people went crazy on Sunday night when he's showing his escapability and turning negative plays into positive ones. And people are understanding the unquantified value of him. And in this season where stats aren't going to win the MVP alone, his high-profile games that he's played recently, the Rams game 2 weeks ago, Sunday, San Francisco on Christmas, and then I think the Miami game will get flexed to a primetime game. That gives him every opportunity where, like Pat McAfee was saying, where you got to see him every play. While a lot of the country was like saying, "Oh my God, we're amazed by Lamar." Every Ravens fan, while amazed by Lamar, we're like, "Well, that's what he does every game. That's what he does almost every play." Our offensive line, our tackles are abysmal. Ronnie Stanley. I'd rather have at this point a statue of Ronnie Stanley than the actual Ronnie Stanley, I think, because it might be more difficult to get by him. So when people see that, if he does these things, we're not going to beat San Francisco and Miami if he's not healthy and if Lamar doesn't play well. So I didn't put in a kind of real statistical number on his odds. I think it's just about beating these two teams in the high profile matchup, earning the 1 seed.
Right. All right, let's move to Dak Prescott here. We're pretty much in line with the odds makers here. Not someone we're really in love with to win the MVP, but what he would have to do is win out. And then you're now looking for, elements outside of your control with Purdy either getting hurt or Lamar not winning these games out.
Yeah, so the probability of right now we have him at 44% at Miami, 72% versus Detroit, 79% at Washington. Those multiplied by the chance of Purdy and chance of Lamar not get hit in their scenario comes out to just under 12%. So not good value, but could turn. If you're a Dak believer and you think that he's going to upset Miami this weekend, then you might want to get in now.
Yeah, it's an act now situation if you think that's going to happen. And I'm really hoping that doesn't for my selfish reasons. All right, let's move over, run through two more here. We're looking at Josh Allen. Again, another guy that needs to see other people prey on their downfall here. But as far as value, if you want to sprinkle on him, you're getting pretty good value at plus 1,600, right?
Yeah, because he's got the stats. Unlike Lamar, I mean, he has a lot of turnovers, but I think he's leading the league in total touchdowns. He's got two easy games coming up, so he obviously can't lose any games. Mm-hmm. But if he beats the Chargers, beats New England, and beats Miami, and actually could win the AFC East, given that, and take Buffalo from a under 20% chance of making the playoffs to the division win, and they'd probably turn into maybe even money even with the Ravens or whoever gets the 1 seed out of the AFC, then he could definitely get it. So we like the value at 10% in the Sims, and as much as plus 1,600, which implies 5.9%. A lot of value there.
Yeah, and we liked, this kind of similar to Jaden Daniels in the way that his losses were kind of earlier. And as, he's making this comeback ride to hopefully make it into the playoffs, that kind of works in his favor, momentum coming at the right time. Obviously not the right losses in terms of, them being AFC losses and trying to make the playoffs, but for a regular season MVP certainly works in his favor right now. All right, let's talk about Christian McCaffrey just for kicks, because it is interesting. And him and Brock Purdy in this race are pretty correlated.
Yeah, so I think McCaffrey, the narrative's getting out there that he's the key to that offense and the reason why they're so good. And he at plus 1,600 is the best odds. I saw like plus 3,000 just a couple of days ago, so they're coming down fast. I think that if San Francisco wins out and Purdy gets hurt, then it would all go to McCaffrey and he would fill in that gap. But the problem is San Francisco might have the 1 seed locked up in week 18 when they play the Rams. So I'm not sure how it will impact the MVP race if they don't play McCaffrey and Purdy.
This is true. That is messy. Mm-hmm. All right. Good stuff there. So again, just to recap, Lamar, someone we definitely could see value on. Josh Allen, someone we could see value on as well. Everyone put on your NBA hats, your basketball hats. We're going to head into that. A few questions in the chat. Someone asking about if we're going to hit a podcast form soon. Curious to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat. A, if you could hit that like button for us, that would be awesome. But B, let us know if you think this could even be beneficial in a podcast form. I know a lot of it is visual, and we look at the model a lot. So curious to see your guys' thoughts on that, because we have thought about making this into podcast form, but didn't know if it would work out well. So would like to hear everyone's opinions on that. While you're cooking that up, while you're coming up with your NBA questions, let's go into the games. Only 4 games tonight that we're looking at, but we'll start with the Spurs going to Milwaukee. Milwaukee 16.5-point favorites here, and we like the team total under for the Spurs.
Yeah, so Wemby is out, so the line's steamed from 13.5 to 16.5. I like the under 116.5 is the best price I saw. They've only scored 106 in the one game Wemby missed. They're projected to shoot just 48% on 2-point shots without him. Spurs average just 104 on the road, even with Wembanyama. They shoot only 51% on twos, even with him. Bucks allowing just 53% 2-point shooting, which is pretty good at home, and 35% 3-point shooting. And Milwaukee, Giannis is trying to light that team on fire as far as stepping up defensively and their intensity.
We think this could be a big Brook Lopez game. I was looking at his line. I think this could be a big game for him, just with that Wemby as rim protector. I know Jamie loves some Brooke Lopez props, so we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, with Wemby out, like, who are we looking at that directly gets affected by that?
I mean, everybody will split it up, I think.
Yeah.
They didn't really. They only looked at Wemby enough anyway. So maybe.
It's true. All right, fair enough. All right, if you have questions on that game, please put them in the chat. We're gonna head over to Memphis, going to New Orleans. New Orleans laying 7.5 here. Another team total under that we like.
Yeah, the Grizzlies have scored 104 or less in 4 of their last 5 games. They're kind of undermanned still. They're playing on a back-to-back. They average just 106 points overall. Pelicans have allowed 110 or less 3 of the last 4 games, so at under 112.5 in this situation, I like. And Pelicans have been playing on the road and playing good defense. So I just think that Memphis doesn't have the bodies to put up the 112.
Mm-hmm. Saw a question about Desmond Bane in the chat. His point total set at 23.5. We like the over there at all?
We're only projecting 20. I thought he would have a big game yesterday. I didn't recommend it as a top play, but he only had 17. Again, maybe they were blown out pretty early.
So you're telling me he's due?
Perhaps.
I know that we have some value on Valanciunas under 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We have him at 26.2, and he's struggled in his career against Jaren Jackson, so that could be an interesting play as well.
So Ja Morant is playing tonight. I mean, he's
Ja Morant is playing. Yeah.
Derek confirmed. So as far as Morant props, like, how do you go about this situation?
I don't think he's going to be limited in any way.
Yeah.
I just know that like Prize Picks and Underdog both had specials on him today, but I mean he's had 25 days of rest, so he shouldn't be limited at all.
And we have one more point.
Like, when does too many days off hurt you? Like, is 25 days too many days off of rest? Is that now rust? We need a rest versus rust like spectrum.
We should look at how he's done in debut games.
That's true.
Season debuts.
Yeah.
I see Big Cheesy asking about a college pick. We will get to those soon. Just a few more NBA plays to get through, I believe. Or no,
last year he had 34. Last year he had 34, 4 and 9 on his first game, and 49, 4 and 8 in his second game.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a strong starter.
Let's
take year before that, 37, 6 and 6 on his debut.
Good stuff there. Let's pivot a bit to
historically he's been really good.
Yeah. Let's pivot to college basketball here. Looking at High Point. I'd be lying if I said I knew who they were playing, but I know that's quick information we can find.
High Point. Help me out.
So many games today. I was looking at
they're playing UNCG.
Okay.
Talk about a marquee matchup.
I mean, that honestly, for a mid-major game, it's a pretty good game. Both teams are
I got it.
2 really good mid-majors. I don't know. UNCG is pretty good, so I don't know. They beat Arkansas on the road. I think this is probably right.
We got money line value. We have Greensboro as the 1-point favorite, and they're 2-point dogs on the consensus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't think that there's a lot of value here.
So last year, Greensboro's road point differential was nearly as good as home. And High Points, while having a good 4-0 record this season, last year was just +3 at home. So I don't know what the continuity of these teams are, though.
I mean, UNCG, they have like a very veteran roster with Langley twins. So
love that. I like the vet rosters. All right. Speaking of money line value, also please hit that like button if you haven't yet. It helps us out tremendously on this page. But going back to our picks here, Jake, you like Providence money line. Providence 4.5-point dogs playing Marquette today. What makes you like them on the money line?
Just Providence's home splits. That's why the model really likes them. We have them winning by 3, which I would probably, if you're safer, I'd probably go with Providence +4.5. But I think if they are within 4.5, they probably win this game. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather take the risk on the plus 165 money line. Devin Carter should be back this game after he missed last game. The big thing is the home splits for Providence. Marquette struggled, actually. They had as many losses and 12 road games as they did at 24 home games last year. They had 4 losses compared to 3 at home.
Yeah. Kids just can't get dazzled by the bright lights of Providence, Rhode Island. And they just
it's a tough place to play.
It's like NBA players going to Miami. That Southeast Providence is a party town.
Too much
Yeah.
salt.
I'll hit on some of Nick S's questions. I do like Ezra Mannion over 12.5 points. I would stay off of Kugel. I have a prop in that game. And then I do like Reese Beekman. I do have a prop on him as well.
I see Providence total.
So that's just the game total. We have 4 points of value here on the over. Yeah. So I don't mind it at all. I don't mind any Big East overs. I don't mind really at all.
I was just gonna say, I feel like that's the general rule of thumb with the Big East situation.
Not in my day. Not in the good old days of Alonzo Mourning and Dikembe Mutombo. And anyway.
How about Indiana 12.5 point favorites?
I think we do have some value on them. I think I looked at it earlier. I think we have them winning by 18.
So, we have a solid play there.
So I don't mind it at all. We'll see how I think the line is implying that they're going to have a bit of a letdown after they blew that game against Kansas. Yeah. But they're a much more talented team. Mm-hmm. I'm on a Walter Clayton over 1.5 threes, Nick. So, but Kugel just scares me because he's so inconsistent. He got benched in the last game for turning the ball over too much.
Caleb Jonas putting a 2-unit whale on UNCG to cover. Love that for you. Respect. All right, let's move over let's go back to one of your plays. Let's get into your player props here quick. Let's go to Florida. Florida on the road against Michigan, 3.5 point road favorites here. You have a player prop.
Yeah, I'm on Will Richard over 9.5 points. His last 2 games, he's gone, I think, 21 points and 10 points. He's just starting to get a lot more confident. He's shooting the ball a lot more. And it's kind of goes with me not wanting to play Kugel because Kugel got benched for turning the ball over. And he's just been sloppy. So I think Will Richards, he's a good defender, Richard, and he's a hustler. And I think this game there could be a ton of points in this game. The line's at 158. So we have 8 points on the value on the under. So we recommend the under, but we still have Richards team player prop over here. So that makes me like it even more. We have him at 10.2 points.
So we usually, correct me if I'm wrong, like when we like an under, the sim likes an under, but we still have value on a player's over. That just makes us like uber confident that they're still going to hit this. Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's go to one more player prop here. UVA, 3.5 point dogs on the road headed to Memphis.
Yeah, I like Reese Beekman over 8.5 rebounds and assists. I feel like he just shines in every big game. I don't mind that over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists that Nick S asked about earlier. I like that as well. But I know he's hit this, I think, in 4 of his last 6 games. But it just he comes to play in the big game. So we have him with 9.4 rebounds and assists.
Yeah, he only doesn't do it when they blow out somebody.
Exactly. And I like looking at games where the line is close to even. And so he's going to play. He's probably going to play 35, 40 minutes in this game. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays the whole game.
Could be overtime, too. We have a 0.04 difference.
Yep.
In projected score.
Out of curiosity, any action on the bowl game from you today, Jake? The Frisco Bowl?
I lean Frank Harris over props, but I would stay away from this bowl just because there's a lot of opt-outs, and I know that UTSA had some key players transfer. I played Frank Harris over 1.5 touchdowns, and I played him over 28.5 rushing yards. And I know Nick S asked about both of those. It's just he's a 6-year senior. I feel like he's going to go out on top, and with Marshall having a lot of opt-outs and players transferring, he should have a good matchup. But I don't know. There's going to be a lot of craziness, just like that Western Kentucky game yesterday.
Which you did get their over prop in that.
Oh yeah,
I
never out on Grant Wilson. I'm 3 for 3 on player props.
I feel like I either like praise Jacob or like bash him. So I'll praise him. Like I looked up, like we are, 40% are over 600 picks since we started this show, and we're up a solid 20, nearly 2,400. But 45% of that profit is Jacob's college football player.
I'm a company man, as you see my background.
And so he'll have to transition quickly to European basketball.
Someone's got to do it. Someone's got to do it. And Jake
I'll give you a European basketball player prop real quick. Tourniquet Shingelia, over 15.5 points.
We have a graphic ready, right, Mackenzie?
Yeah, let me just whip that one up real quick.
Yeah.
You sound like Buckets on Early Edge with all of his soccer names that I just are way over my head. All right.
Even though confused that guy that made all those bucket names.
Yeah. All right.
At least these guys were former NBA players.
That's true. That is true. All right. That is all we have time for today. Thank you for being active in the chat, hitting that like button. We'll be back tomorrow. But if you have any questions until then, feel free to ask them on Twitter. We are always here to help out. So with that said, good luck with your bets tonight. Happy Basketball Tuesday, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.